With me is Ryan, and welcome to our little show.
Thanks, Bill.
Ryan, and I've said it a lot of times going through what we do here at Low Gear, and a lot of the people that we talk to who restore stuff and have old vintage stuff, blah 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 blah, are all my age and older. They've got grey hair and specs and glasses and all the rest of it. But to find out, how old are you?
22.
To find somebody who's 22 years old and passionate about an old truck, and it's just great. It's you're ensuring that the vintage carries on.
Yep,
exactly.
Definitely.
So you did this?
Yes. Yep. My father and brother and I did it, and
how long did that
restored
take?
it. Oh, about 8 to 9 months.
I thought you were going to say 8 to 9 years. So you really must have got stuck into it.
We got stuck into it. Yeah. And we didn't want it to get left in the shed and not finished. So.
What year is it?
It's 1961.
61. Well, that's getting back to almost the beginning of it.
It is. Yeah.
So you were saying before, this is the end of a Mark.
Yeah, so that was the Mark 1 version with the Thames Trader on there, and then the Mark 2 model had Thames across the grill and Trader on the grill there.
And it's a 55?
That's a 55, so that went off the weight. So the bigger ones were a 75.
Oh, okay.
So that was 7.5 tonnes, whereas it's 5.5.
Was there a 35?
There was
something
there was
smaller?
15s and 20s. There was quite a few different models over the years.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that's 5.5 tonne we can carry on our back.
Yeah.
So that's including.
So the tier weight's 3,280.
Oh, okay.
And the GVM's 11.3. So it's actually quite a bit.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah. Can we have a look at the little engine? What have you done for the engine?
Yep.
It goes way back into the cab. Now, the engine goes like the old OLB Bedford.
Yep.
In order to sort of shorten the cab so they can put more stuff on the back within the beef that they've got. They've done this, and I think this is being English. The same thing's happened in order to sort of get more on the back. They've shortened you guys up. We've got less to sit in. So the engine. So what's it like? Sort of, is this diesel or petrol?
It's 6-cylinder petrol.
Yeah. So you've got to change spark plugs. So you need an elbow here and here and here. To get in there to do that.
Well, luckily the way the engine cover comes off on the inside, so you can do the sort of the back half from the inside.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. You just got to say, folks, isn't this absolutely stunning? So we'll shut that and we'll jump in the cab.
Yep. We'll have to undo that door.
The guys that drove these were about as big as you back in the 1950s and 60s.
Yep.
Fit as muck rats, and of course you didn't have any assistance. Forklifts are very few and far between, so you had to pretty much load the truck yourself.
Yeah.
I remember when you went down to the wharf in Auckland, trying to find a forklift driver was a mission, and then you had to find a dispatcher type guy to sign you off, and that was even harder to find. So you could waste a lot of time down on the wharf in a truck like this with a flat deck.
With a flat deck, yeah.
Nice big steering wheel there.
They are.
Yeah.
They quite like the steer, really. They're good.
And how many gears? Are just 4 or 5?
Just a 4-speed.
Just 4?
Yep.
It reverses over and up, is it? Or forwards you
over
and down?
towards me and up. Yep.
Oh, okay. Wow.
And then the rest just a 4-speed pedal like a car.
Okay.
So fifths where reverses.
And the little, it doesn't really tell you much of the little dials there, the speedo and little light comes on if the oil sort of gets a bit
Yeah, we've got a generator light and a high beam light, and that's about it.
Wow. Yeah. Well, folks, I think what we've got to do with Ryan is we'll take this for a bit of a trip down memory lane. So I'll jump in the other side there and you can take me for a ride. Awesome.
Go for it.
One thing about these things, Brian, is getting in and out of them,
Oh, I know.
But if you're really good, I suppose if you could just sort of do it one sweep.
You get used to it.
And then you spin on your toe, and even though I'm wearing a hat, it's not bad.
Yep.
This model of Thames Trader was a very popular truck back in the 60s, and as you can see, even Lime breweries had them as tankers. Ryan's 1961 model is dwarfed somewhat by the more modern fleet today. Those of you who operated trucks around Auckland and North Auckland might remember Shedaways had a fleet of Fords. People used to say miles before they said Ks.
They did.
The old Thames Trader was a popular truck in its day, like this car transporter outside the old Jury Diner south of Auckland. And you have to say they've done a stunning job with this truck, and orange really suits it. And just to show how popular Thames Traders were, here's another shot of that same transporter with a Thames Trader furniture truck parked next to it. And as Ryan's Thames Trader drives along, in the background you can see the Commas, there's an old Dodge there, and these are the trucks that would have been on the road at the same time as Ryan's one. There's another Thames Trader used as a bit of a logging truck back in its time, just on a flat deck, the same as what Ryan's driving. Now Ryan's backing up and she's on the mirrors, but you might remember back in the day some guys actually stood out on a running board and looked over their shoulders and backed up with one foot on the accelerator and one on the running board. But anyway, good on you Ryan, backing up in the approved manner.
So your petrol, Bill?
That's the one.
How much food are there in here?
Enough to get us back home. Hop out or stay in, Bill?
Right, never get another go.
Come on, son. This is young Brad who decided he would like to jump in our truck and come for a ride. Thank you for coming with us. There's your $5 back.
Right.
Oh, there you go, folks. Come around here, Ryan.
Here's your name.
What, a Bill or what?
No. Ryan, thank you so much. It's,
thank you,
it's a credit to you. You've done a marvellous job restoring this old Thames Trader back to what it might have been like back in its time. And good on you for that. And there you go, folks. One of the up and coming vintage people with Brad on the end. This Caterpillar 15, probably in the 1930s as well. And following along behind it, get out of here. Yep, 1928 tractor. And here comes the D9. Just a comparison. Come the big boys of the modern day, and it's a case. You might remember the 1928 case we looked at. Well, they've certainly come a long way, and those tracks distribute the weight evenly over the ground. But look at the forest of this on the back of it. So what took 100 passes up and down the paddock probably only take about 45. That's just massive. That's just incredibly big.
So,
look at the size of those discs. You see all those discs spread? Look at the size of the spread of those discs.
The big discs are owned by Ross Hewson out of Chertsey.
This little Caterpillar 15 was built in 1928, and at that time the Caterpillar company was only 3 years old, having merged with the Holt Manufacturing Company in 1925. Following along behind is a D9. Caterpillar introduced the D9 in 1954 to compete with the Euclid TC12. In 1961, the D9G was introduced and remained in production for the next 13 years. I don't know what model this one is, but in its day it was considered a very big dozer. Next up is a little Fergie with a set of discs that was common back in the day. Following along behind it is the massive Case International, and you can see here just how much ground coverage this disc actually covers. At a glance, it looks like about 10 times wider than the old Fergie. So one trip around the paddock is equal to 10 trips by the little Fergie. And with his old McCormick Deering is young Lou, who we spoke to last week. And there he is, sitting in that very comfortable little seat, thoroughly enjoying himself and showing his tractor off to the public. Coming along behind him is a Land's Bulldog. And yet, just like the tractor, this likes to sort of just shake, and it's saying, come on, let's go and do something, yoo-hoo, let's get busy. But you're certainly sitting on that thing, shaking away. You can just see the driver shaking away like that, and that's got to be good for you. So you certainly know you've had a day in the office when you've had a day towing something around with that all day. Coming along behind him is a couple of little John Deeres, and they too have got into the Crawler Tractor Act, and these are quite old and they look very, very well restored. Just a little bit further back, coming along by itself, is this Bait Steel Mule, and after the break we'll have a closer look at this old girl. Well, as you probably know, my new book, Talking Trucks, is now available, and you can get your copy just by going to my webpage at www.lowgear.co.nz, and if you can't get hold of me, maybe just give me a call, 027 277 0717. It's 280 pages of the history of New Zealand trucking, going all the way back to the 1900s, the 1920s. They even had electric trucks in the 1920s, the 30s, back in the day when they had wooden stock crates and things were a bit more manly, I suppose you'd say, back then, the 40s, through the war. After the war, the GMCs came, and the 50s, the Commas, the R190s, the logging, and it's all in this book. So a great little history of the New Zealand trucking scene through the ages. So, as I said, to get your copy, go to the webpage www.lowgear.co.nz, and you can buy your copy there, or just give me a call, 027 277 0717. Jenner's Worldwide Freight. They provide simplified, custom-built solutions to your supply chain needs. Their 37 years of experience and their team of experts find the answers to your freight challenges. They work hard to understand what matters most to you and your clients. Check them out at www.jenners.co.nz. That's www.jenners.co.nz. Alistair, welcome to our little show, and this will be one of the rarest things probably in this whole parade of machinery and trucks and vehicles and tractors. And we did see a half track on a show or two ago, and had a four-wheel, had a diff in the wheels in the front, and the tracks to drive it. And I'm just looking at this. Do you actually have some control when you're trying to steer this?
Yep. Steering conventionally with the wheel steering at the front.
Really? Is that those sort of lugs on the wheels there help it dig in?
Sure does. Yep.
So what is it?
It's a Bait Steel Mule, 1921.
1921.
There's only two of them in New Zealand. And one's in a museum in West Otago, and this one. This comes from South Auckland at Clevedon.
Really?
And the late John Blundell and his family had it, and they were going to restore it, but unfortunately they changed their mind. John and the two boys, they were going to do that, and then I heard a few years later that they were going to give it to anybody that would restore it. So I grabbed the bull and
took it by the horns, and here it is.
And here it is. You're right. Yeah, but it's taken a few years to do, and I've owned it since the late 70s, and it's been a massive job. No matter what you touched had to be fixed. All the sprockets had to be rebuilt.
Did you rebuild them?
Yeah, I rebuilt them. Yep. All new pins and bushes, and there's two bushes in all the tracks. All the bearings in the gearbox are new. There's a couple of new shafts in there. The centre, the clutch plate is cast iron, and the centre was smashed out of that, so we had to make up a new clutch plate, pressure plate.
You do it yourself?
No, I had a very good copper that helped me.
So are you going on a pattern, or just what's left over of what's already there?
Just, what was left. We sort of drew it up on a bit of paper and tried it to see if it worked, and it worked.
Yeah.
So
there's a lot of guys like you in New Zealand, I've spoken to all sorts of guys. They've just sort of taken this big pile of rubble and they just make it, gears, whatever, they just make it.
And the cylinder head had to have new valve guides,
Wow.
And we made some new valve guides out of the old cast iron window weights from the old houses. And that's had a fella help me out there, and we managed to get some Leyland valves and put in it. And when you walk round to the front here, this is the cylinder head gasket here, and these are the prime cups. That's the nuts that hold the cylinder on. They're not up the top like all other engines are.
They come up,
yeah, they come into that wee recess.
And they couldn't get in a more awkward a spot, really, could
That's
they?
right. Now when the piston comes up the top of the stroke, it's 2 inches from the top of the piston to the top of the cylinder. So the cylinder is actually the combustion chamber. It's a flat head.
Wow.
And these are the governors, like a traction engine.
Yep.
They're made by Pickering.
And they just spin around and
they just spin around and govern the tractor, and and that and the 4 priming cups were on it when I got it. I can't believe it.
So does it run on petrol? Or?
Running on petrol now, yeah.
What did it
It's
run
too
on?
much of a hassle on. Yeah, it would have originally run on power kerosene.
Yeah. Wow.
Started on petrol and switched it over to power kerosene.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah. What can you say?
It's 4 1/4 by 6 bore and stroke. It's a 1522 rated horsepower, and it's mighty heavy to slug over, I tell you.
Does it have come with a mag?
Yeah, the mag, and that's on the other side. Yep,
Oh,
and the
okay.
water pump.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Amazing. Does it go?
Well, of course it goes.
Now-
Well, I hope it goes. Well, we'll try.
Well, I can't really see a key anywhere.
There's no ignition.
Oh,
of
there's the
course.
key. You've got a bloody big key. Look at this, folks. A little choke out the front. Yep.
No, it might not. It might just go.
Obviously the gearbox, that reverse up there.
You lift that up and go forward.
Yep.
And that's high gear.
Yep.
Top. That way's low gear.
Yep.
And reverse it that way.
Oh, can you...
Good to go?
Yeah.
Where do you want me to go? Just in a circle?
Oh, yeah, just...
In a circle? It's a man's clutch pedal.
The man clutch, yeah, let's see that. Get your boots out right.
Half the tracks like this. There's only 9 of that model in the world. So two going and some getting there and 2 reeks. So there's 4 in New Zealand. 2 going, 2 only. Hard to turn on.
No, it's quite easy.
What did you just do?
It just shuts the throttle off.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Some people just let a carburetor fall, or some people...
I can. There is a knob on the front that I can push in, and it's the magneto out. But
That's got a little lever.
yep, that's the way it's throttled.
Alice, so this is just outstanding, and you've got some photographs of when you got it.
Yes, they are. There are some photographs.
Can we have a look at them?
Yes, they are. Where's
Oh, here we go. Yeah. If you just hold it there, because you're in it. Alice, what a mess.
Well, that's as the caption says, as found in Cleveland and South Auckland. And this is unloading at Belfast. This has arrived. We come down on the two brothers from Tauranga, very generously brought it down. They were coming to pick up a Land's Bulldog here at Karoo, and they brought it down.
Is this Andrew?
And that's Andrew there, about 42 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah, trying to get the engine, we got the engine away from the transmission there. That's what it was like when it was finished in '82. And that's a photograph from the Matakoe Museum. I managed to get a copy of that.
Oh, right.
And that looks a bit like you, Bill, sitting on the tractor there.
Yeah, big white moustache.
Yeah.
Uncanny, except he's got more hair than me.
And this fella here,
Yep.
this fella here was one of the two brothers. That's the other brother. But this fella, he arrived here today, and he was able to. We were able to talk, and it's the first time he's actually seen it all finished.
Right.
So that was pretty special, really.
He would have been impressed.
Yes, and that's ready to leave Belfast to come home, and then we went down and got down to West Otago and managed to get some spares back in 1980. So
Spares.
yeah, spares, yeah, from the spare parts department.
So parts for these are like you were saying. You
You got to make them. You got to make them. Yeah, John Blunder was very good, and he, as I said, he wanted to give it to someone to restore it, and and I was able to make contact with the previous owner before John, and the previous owner had arrived in his apple orchard in the shop to get a bag of apples, because he had this load of this and a lot of other scrap steel on the back of his truck, and he was off to Pacific Scrap in Otahu to get rid of it.
Wow.
And John saw it through when he was in the shop. He saw all this stuff on the truck, and he said to the owner, "What are you going to do with that?" And he said, "Oh, I'm just heading to Pacific, going to scrap it." He said, "Well, I'll give you the bag of apples if you drop that on my loading bank across the road." So that's what he did. So that's very lucky that it's been saved, really.
Yeah. So when did Bates go out of business? I mean, when did they stop making machinery, or did they morph into something else?
No, they started about 1915 or 19. The Bates Machine and Tractor Company was about 1914 or 15, and then they made the Model C, and then they made the D, and then they made the Model F, which is bigger and a different type of engine, and they were made in the late 20s, and then they made a Bates 40 and a Bates 60. So but I'm not sure what happened to them. They're probably taken over by another company in America.
Because the Depression's 1929 and everybody's trying to survive.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah. But anyway, it's great you've got us here.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and congratulations to you both for keeping New Zealand history alive. That's for absolute sure. Yes.
Oh, very appreciative of Peter Buttrick and Graham McElroy for making the effort to help me out by bringing it down here and going to take it home for me. So I've got no other way of shifting it. So it's their effort that's done all that.
Excellent.
To make it a success, yeah.
So are you going to inherit it? Is it sort of you're going to...
I don't know.
Of course you are. Alistair, good on you, mate.
All right.
Andrew, lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So there you go, folks. And a Bates steel mule being sort of able to carry and tow and push and do all those sorts of things.
They advertise it in the brochures as the most efficient tractor in America.
Efficient.
Most efficient.
There you go. Well, as you probably know, my new book, Talking Trucks, is now available, and you can get your copy just by going to my webpage at www.lowgear.co.nz, and if you can't get hold of me, maybe just give me a call, 027 277 0717. It's 280 pages of the history of New Zealand trucking, going all the way back to the 1900s, the 1920s. They even had electric trucks in the 1920s, the 30s, back in the day when they had wooden stock crates and things were a bit more manly, I suppose you'd say, back then, the 40s, through the war. After the war, the GMCs came, and the 50s, the Commas, the R190s, the logging, and it's all in this book. So a great little history of the New Zealand trucking scene through the ages. So as I said, to get your copy, go to the webpage www.lowgear.co.nz, and you can buy your copy there, or just give me a call, 027 277 0717. this old machine, and apparently it carted wool from Timaru down to Kurau way for a long time, so I understand. But the interesting thing is the gap above here. So normally they were just a sea cab which didn't have this, so all the wind would be coming straight on your face. But this one's got a little bit of air conditioning that goes across the top. It's just amazing. And Armstrong steering. But you can't get out this door to the right because of the gear lever and the handbrake. It's all stopping you from getting out. So the only way into this machine is via the left-hand door. A couple of horses coming at us, so I better let it pull over and let them in. So foot on the clutch. Wait till these horses go by. Here we go again. Now this would have been a monster truck back in the day. It didn't go very fast, probably because of the gearbox didn't let it, but it had a ginormous diff in the back, which we'll have a look at. But it's great being able to drive one and thoroughly enjoying this. And here we are. So there you go. The old 1990 Leyland finally got to drive one. So come out and look at the size of these back wheels and the diff. I've seen these wheels lying around in paddocks and they are very heavy. I'd have to say the thick end of a ton. But if you look under the back here and look at the size of that diff, it's just enormous. And we've seen this same diff on many other trucks like this that haven't been restored to this standard, but it's just good to see one all rigged up, ready to go. There's that great big Leyland engine number 12320. Leyland motors, Leyland motors. There it is. Just a bit more about this old Leyland. It was bought by the Geraldine Vintage Machinery Club with a view to doing it up. And this is what it looks like when it arrived on the back of this truck. And speaking of being on the back of a truck, here's the Leyland back in the day with what looks like a Model T Ford on the back. And like all trucks, you've got to start somewhere, and so there's the pedals and the steering wheel, then the gear levers and the brake, of course, all on the right hand side. And here's the completed version, the brakes and of course the gear lever and brakes on the right hand side, which means you can't get in that side. Next is to sort out the engine, and that's no mean task, and that WD-40 looks like it might be a handy thing to have around. And here's the completed job, and they've certainly done a wonderful job of restoring this engine, getting it back to the way it was, and isn't that absolutely spectacular. Next, the gearbox and the shafts need to be addressed, and then of course you have to build a cab. So congratulations to the team at the Geraldine Vintage Machinery Club for an outstanding job.